We are on.
And
And the screen looks narrow, but when people see it on Facebook, it's actually a little wider.
Okay.
So we're in.
Oh, good. I'd hate not to. I feel like I'm like sinking down into the.
It is a high table.
Into the.
Yes.
Maybe you could just lift us up a little bit as I welcome everybody to the Harp Effect on yet another very warm Friday afternoon in the Coachella Valley. But it's the Harp Effect with Marcia and Yo Reno, and we're glad that you are.
No,
Was that a drum roll?
That was a drum roll.
Oh, good. Okay.
First time.
Why not? And we have a very special guest with us today. But first, let us tell you that we have aired several times from this fabulous living community that called Rowell. And those of you who have been tuning in so wonderfully, and thank you so very much, know that it's a independent living. Is that yes? Independent living, and they call it a cruise ship on land. And as you can just see from the little bit here, this is just the start of it. But we love coming here and being at Rowell just because we love the facility and the space. And today we brought a very, very special guest. And Reno, why don't you?
You're gonna let me do it?
I'm gonna let you do it because you're the one who found her.
Well,
You discovered me.
I discovered her. Well, I was.
Her name is.
Well, I'm building up to it.
Oh, okay.
Want another drum roll?
Should I go out and like?
Well, what happened was I was out doing a home inspection for a client of mine, Dr. Simone Ravis, and she brought her friend along with her, which is Laura Rowell.
No, very good, very good. He practiced it.
So just a quick little funny story is when we were looking inside the house, it was just the two ladies and myself. I knew the home inspector was coming, but what happened was they didn't realize it, and the door kind of opened, and Laura here was ready to take on this intruder. I'm like,
I did. I popped up.
oh yeah.
A little kitty cat.
And she stepped in front of me and Dr. Simone. I'm like, hey,
No,
I like
I'm
this
the
lady.
realtor. I'm the realtor.
No, there was the inspector coming in. I was already there, babe.
Yeah, and I went down and I was like ready. I didn't know who was coming in, and I was like, went past them. I'm like, I got
Well,
this.
I'm glad we're friends now. I'll know who I can call.
So that's how I met Laura, and then found out what she did, and told her about our show. And
That's
I thought,
an interesting first impression.
It was,
Bodyguard.
well, yeah, the bodyguard was the first impression, but then she gave me her card, oh, I'm a hypnotherapist. Oh, okay. And then I get the card, like, oh, you do this and this too. I said, but really, when you think about all the areas that you cover, the hypnotherapy, the life coach, and the sex coach, I'm sure there's many times where they all
it's crossovers.
go
Absolutely.
together.
Yeah, it definitely all crosses over. And oftentimes when people come for hypnotherapy, there have been times where people just like, no, I just want to quit smoking. That's it. I'm like, no, let's talk a little bit. Let's find out your triggers. And then I can't help but get the coaching in with it because it really makes a difference. So there is a lot. And other times with people who come in for sex coaching, after talking to them a few sessions and they feel safe and comfortable, we can do hypnosis to help with some of those issues too. So
It's like a complete package. Just like you can't just paint
Just like
the
me.
wall. Yeah, it's a complete package. But it's like remodeling. Some people think, oh, I'm gonna just paint a wall, and then they do the counters, and then they go, wow, we need a new sink. So she's like the one-stop all.
I'm Home Depot.
When I was inquiring as to who you were and all of that, and now I'm so glad I've met her and all that she can do. And Reno said, asked me if I'd ever been hypnotized. And I think a long time ago, somebody came around to our school and but that would have been a real long time ago. And I don't
the 80s. Wasn't that long?
and I don't know, but I do know I did a past life regression.
Yeah, I did those at Crystal Fantasy a few times. I worked there for a couple of times. Yeah.
You did them, or you?
I did them for others.
You did.
I walked them through it. So yeah. Do you remember it?
Oh yes, very much so. Oh yeah, and I was like saying things like, oh yes, and I see the black men in black suits with white scarves, and they're outside the theater, and I went on and on and on and on, and then when she finally said, who was I said Ruth Edding.
I don't know who Ruth Edding is.
And it was like,
Full-time actress.
Oh,
what?
I didn't know who Ruth Edding was.
I
I'm
know.
so
Well,
sorry.
most people, she was America's sweetheart and a singer a long time ago. Doris Day did her life story in Love Me or Leave Me. The story, and that's where you would see the men with James Cagney with his black suits and all that. But the thing is that she was still alive. So
you didn't put a curse on her, did you?
no, I hope that she something tells me she may never have known about it. But one day I will ask you some questions about that.
Sure.
As to what, because I do remember it, and there's 10 Cents a Dance was written for her by Ziegfeld in the Ziegfeld Follies.
Really?
And all these years, I have just about always used the song 10 Cents a Dance in my shows. And it's like, it's so it's kind of like you go, okay. So,
Well, I believe that with past life regression, there's different schools of thought on it. I believe that sometimes people really do connect. Maybe it's a parallel universe, maybe it is a past life, or maybe it's somebody that you connect with on your life in the past. So maybe that was part of your life or somebody you identified with at the time that could have shone a little bit of light on who you were or who you wanted to be. So and sometimes also past lives can also mean regression to childhood and things that we don't remember, because every 7 years they say you grow and you change your life. So it could also be that maybe there was a connection in your childhood with her, and that could have been your quote past life. So there's a whole, and I don't judge, but it's different schools of thought for everybody.
So this is so fascinating to me, and like the hypnosis and all of that. How did you? What do I say? Like.
How did I get there?
How did that happen?
Was it like a board
I ask
game?
myself that every day. How did I get here?
Like a board game. So we're in the
Game of
pieces.
life.
Do that. You're pounding.
Oh, sorry.
Now I want to do it just because you said not to. My impulse controls. I got here. I quit smoking when I was in my 20s through hypnosis, and it really made a huge difference for me. I'll tell you funny stories about that another time off the air. But there were some things.
Everybody's going, no, darn.
I know. Now everybody's leaning in, right?
Well, there's just some things that they implanted that I associate with being dirty. And so I'd gone home and I just started washing my clothes that were already clean. And then I had an ex who discovered this. And so every time we would argue or something, I would start to clean, because I wouldn't smoke a cigarette. I would clean. So he would pick fights with me to clean the house or something. So he was English. So that's how I really fell in love with it. So I started, though, with sex coaching with my background from being a stripper, from being webcam model, working professionally.
What was the second one?
Webcam model.
Oh, Redcam.
Webcam.
Ooh.
BDSM dungeon, where I worked my way up to dominatrix. I was also a rape and crisis counselor, and I studied through Dr. Brandy Engler. She was my mentor for sex therapist. So I did a lot of background in that, and it just evolved. I got into the sex coaching, which was the first part, because I wanted to help women who have gone through sexual trauma to step back into their sexuality. And it doesn't mean to step back into it with a man. It can be having these little earthquakes when this pressure is building and releasing it, and just feeling that sense of, that adrenaline, the endorphins that are given off. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can be sensual. It can be for yourself, not for another. What ended up happening is not a lot of women put their sexual health first, but men do. So
That's why they're always getting busted.
So I ended up becoming a specialist in ED, erectile dysfunction, because I just kept getting it. Oh, not me personally, but these men over and over. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? So that is kind of my specialty. I love helping women. especially those with the trauma and the background that I've had, I can understand how they have the trauma and how they're looked at differently, and how at times, society's getting better, but the judgment that we're still put upon us, it's always the female's fault for everything that happens.
Right.
And there's this internal judgment, and there's this subconscious belief we have as a society that, there's the whore and the Madonna. So women really do need to start to put their sexual health and understand it. Let's take all this patriarchal or religious stuff out of it, and let's put ourselves first, not for a man, not for anybody else, but for ourselves, because it feels good. Then with that, I decided a few years into that, working with a bunch of men in Los Angeles. I was in Silver Lake. I worked for Silver Lake Psychology under Dr. Brandy Engler. And then I decided I really want to go back to hypnosis because I've always been fascinated by it. And I ended up going to school, brick and mortar school, an actual school. And I got certified, board certified for that. And it gets a bad rap. There's a lot of horror films now with hypnosis.
Making you do things you
it's
don't
like, you're going to go to sleep, or,
Yeah.
you're out. I do a very
Ooh.
gentle sort of
You're gonna rob
relaxing.
the bank or something.
If I could do that, I would. No, I'm just kidding. But no, so I try to do it where it's people relaxing, and my specialty in that is with anxiety, smoking, and weight loss. Those are my 3 specialties in hypnosis.
Oh,
Yeah, and I've done past life regression.
quit
but
smoking, weight loss, and what was the other?
Anxiety is a big
And
one.
anxiety
Yeah.
through hypnosis.
You should have a line going out your door. I mean,
In LA, I had a lot of musicians with
Oh.
stage fright. That is in Los Angeles was a really big one.
who's the Caruso, the big singer back in what was he, the 30s? He had a big stage fright, and he went through hypnosis.
I
in
read
order
it.
to
Oh, I
overcome
never
it.
knew that.
Yeah,
I hope we're being heard.
Oh,
I can check.
I read a
Okay.
book recently. Who was it? Who was it? Robert Wagner, I think it was, who is a big proponent of hypnosis. Yeah, and so there's some old school who really like it too for different reasons. They don't always say for who or why, but
Do we have some people tuning in?
Yeah, I'll check later.
Okay, good.
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation. Screw them.
No, but
Let's get some wine.
But I like what you said about the women part, because I was raised by women, and there's some not so good stories that happened to like my sisters and stuff. But yeah, I've always been partial to the women, because the women are really like the part of the subconscious mind when the subconscious meets the conscious mind.
Yes.
I don't know how many of you realize
It's
that,
the fluidity.
yeah. And so being able to help the women, it actually elevates the man. So,
It helps society.
yeah,
Yeah.
as a whole.
I took a wonderful class recently on, it was the matriarchal societies, and it studied all the history of matriarchal societies and how they function compared to the patriarchal societies. And it was fascinating how money wasn't a big thing, capitalism wasn't a big thing. It was very altruistic. It was very, let's just help each other. And it's changes. What you said is perfect, actually, Reno. It really is when we help the females in society and we feel like we have a strong footing, that we don't need a man to fix us, or we don't need anybody, that we just are who we are, that it just changes. It even changes the way men behave. It's like, she doesn't need me, so what can I bring to the table? Does that make sense?
They gotta step,
Oh,
they gotta step
yes.
up to the plate.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to get all feminist.
No. Well, both have their roles, but when it comes to the female, they're the ones that have to give birth. And I mean, that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, I'll stay with the cats on that one. But
So, yeah, because a lot of times you got to be careful when you're looking for somebody that does what Laura does. Is what's their background, what's their history, and you just heard you started out as a stripper, and you worked in a crisis, and everything was related and building on it. It wasn't just you just read a book. Oh, I'm gonna do this.
it's fascinating when we go back through our life and realize, this is connected. It was a little zigzaggy path, but it was a path nonetheless, and you can see that connection.
That's interesting you should say that, because just today or yesterday, a friend said to me, where did I go wrong? Did I make poor choices? Were my choices not? And it's like, no, yes, maybe so for some of us something, but like you just said, there's a path, and how do we ever know that we're really on the right path?
I'm taking a course right now through Carrie Ann Moss. She played Trinity in The Matrix. And she has this...
Wait a minute, back up. Who's...
She's actually...
This movie, The Matrix, that was in the 90s.
Okay.
She played one of the characters, Trinity. And she teaches this... She has this, I think it's Annapurna. It's a Kundalini term. But one of the things they tell you or teach you is everything that happened to you was for a reason. Like, even the most horrific things that happen to us in our life, in some way, to find a silver lining, it makes you who you are. So there is no wrong path. We might not be where we wish we were, but where we're supposed to be. And so I would love to talk to your friend and tell her that don't beat yourself up. It's maybe that path over there that you wish you were at, it's not so pretty when you're there. Like, you're where you're supposed to be.
Like
I think
Marcia,
my friend is listening.
well, it's like Marcia being in the entertainment business. I mean, all the things that she's done, I think God had a hand on her, because you hear so many horror stories. I mean, she was a head cheerleader for the 49ers. She was a stewardess. I mean, all these...
I wanted to be a stewardess. I know that. Every girl wants to be a stewardess.
Well, it's like all these glamour
The
things.
Pan American.
Did you watch the TV show?
Yeah, I did.
I love Christina Ricci. I love Christina Ricci.
But
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
it
That's-
only
it's all
lasted. That
part
show
of it.
only lasted a year, though.
Yeah.
So it was
I think Margot Robbie started on that, who's now this Barbie. I haven't seen that, but yeah, she started on there. Yeah. Not started, but America started. But she was last. Anyway, go ahead.
I lost my thought.
I'm so sorry.
But no.
She said stewardess. I'm like, oh my gosh, so
I know.
glamorous.
It's that world that people got to be careful what they wish for. And Marcia, has done a lot of things, and everybody would think, oh, that's the perfect job.
Right.
Not her. She was willing to. Oh, what about this over here? What about this over here? And I think that's probably why you are where you are today, and still making a difference.
That's very sweet.
because I did what?
Because you done. She just wants to hear it again. Is it happy hour already?
Everybody, well, I want to make sure you all are being heard in this little.
That was
device.
hilarious. Oh. You're like, what? He gave you a wonderful compliment. You're like, what? Tell me again. What was that,
So that's why you're able to do what you still do today, because you hopped around. You didn't just stay in one place. You
Yeah.
brought all those pieces together.
You're like me. You're a hummingbird. You want every day to try different nectar. You're like, some people are like seagulls, and they just every day want to go and just eat the garbage on the beach every day the same. And then there are other people who are hummingbirds. You just want to try all the different nectars and have
All the pretty
not,
things.
Yeah, not just one flower every day, not the same flower. You want to try this one over here and this one. That's what it sounds like, which is nice.
You were a hummingbird in a former life. She's tripping now.
I know.
No, I was thinking about the little hummingbird things that the.
Speaking of the hummingbirds,
One of the top ladies here at Rowell is an artist, and she made these hummingbird dot painting, they're called, and she actually she was able to hold it in one hand. We had a show on it, so people will know. And she had this beautiful thing that she made, including the rock and the hummingbird, and film it at the same time, because a hummingbird came and ate right out of her hand.
I love that.
And so I'm a hummingbird. I'll go home and see if I can drink out of that thing.
Hello, Elaine Prince. Yeah, she had over 6 million views.
Oh, wow.
Just
With
from the
hummingbird.
Yes, hi
The
Elaine.
hummingbirds
Elaine
are
has
very
her art
connected.
classes. You too can make these. You can make hummingbirds. Connect with us, as you well know, and we'll put you in touch with Elaine.
My mom does that. She doesn't make hummingbird, but she does Facebook Live, and she makes cards online. And I'm always fascinated. Like, these people, I can write. I'm a really good writer. But outside of that, I can't.
Not artistic.
No,
Well,
I don't have it.
Lori, your life seems fascinating in that you had to almost determine somewhere, this is really what I'd like to do, because as for me, I wanted to dance. And there was, in Barnesville, Ohio, that many years ago, there wasn't a real good outlet, and you had to go elsewhere. Did you find it difficult in finding out about like hypnosis? What was the first person you hypnotized? Or not what?
I don't want to tell him because he's still a client. I want anybody to know who they're first.
Just don't say names. Don't say names then.
It's funny, I used to want to be a dancer too. I did tap, jazz, and ballet for like 7 years as a kid. I just love that you
and
did
where
that.
was this?
Florida. In Dunedin, Florida. Outside of Clearwater, Tampa.
Dunedin?
Yeah.
I had classmates from Barnesville, Ohio who used to live in Dunedin.
Really? Small world. Such a small world. I wonder if I know them.
Stanley and June Brown.
That's a very common name. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know the Browns.
I think I got it right. I think so.
You'll-
My
you'll-
classmates from Barnesville, Ohio will correct me.
That's funny.
Yeah, they'll say, no, Marcia, that was Larry Simmons. Anyway, I think that's fascinating that you... So from Florida, where did you go?
California. Los Angeles, Silver Lake, Los Feliz area.
And when you got here, did you know what you were... I mean, did you...
I was engaged to the English guy who used to get me angry to clean. He was finishing his pilot license and was a motocross racer. Good guy. We were good friends. No ill will towards that one. There's another one, but there's maybe a couple, right? There's one that's dead that I didn't do it, but I'm happy about. So I
You want her for your therapist.
I understand. No, so I did come out here with him to finish his pilot license, and I was kind of a lost cause, trying to get these little jobs here and there. And then we broke up, and just trying to figure out the path, and I tried so many different little things. And I was a writer. I did go to school for journalism in Pasadena City College, and I was an editor.
there.
Did you really? You and me and William Holden. Yeah. Remember that big picture of William Holden they had? Yeah, they had like a flag of him, and I think Eddie Van Halen went there.
Yeah.
He went to Pasadena
Yeah,
City College?
yeah.
Oh.
I met Eddie Van Halen
Oh.
when he was still in the garage band.
That's a fun story. I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't even know who he was. All my friends, oh yeah, there's this really cool guitarist in Pasadena.
He is a great
I wasn't
guitarist.
playing instruments, but my friend did, so I went along and, oh wow, he's really good.
He is a great was a great
Yeah.
guitarist, R.I.P. But so I went to school for journalism. I did do some creative writing. I sold, now the internet's so big, but I did a lot of SEO, and I ended up being an editor for a weekly paper. I got paid to go to Coachella, but that was like despite being a stripper and everything else, that was the most sexist job I ever had. That was the most sexual harassment I ever had, was as a writer, as an editor for a paper. It was terrible harassment.
Wow.
And
And
so
I don't think much has changed from what I hear of other female.
it can be bad.
In editing and
I mean, I wasn't
newspaper?
working for like New York Times. It wasn't anything like that, but it was like a weekly paper, like a Los Angeles weekly paper type place.
Were you had you started the
No,
hypnosis?
and so that was getting so bad. I knew I needed to get out of it. I knew I needed to do something else. I ended up doing the webcamming, and I was a member of this Against the Stream Buddhist organization in Los Angeles.
What was that?
Against the Stream, it was a Buddhist organization,
Ooh,
and so a
never
member
heard
of
it.
my
Against-
a member of my sangha there, she was the sex therapist, and she's someone who helped me because I was webcamming to pay my bills. And she's like, do you know how many women you could help? And I was like, no, tell me. And so she took me under her wing and really trained me. She was fabulous. And while I was doing that, I was listening to this gentleman, Michael Seeley, who's an Australian hypnotherapist, on YouTube, and I'm obsessed with him. And I realized I really like this. I want to help others like he helps. And I just started looking at schools, and there's everything. And like you said, a lot of people say they're a hypnotherapist and they just read a book. Like, you really want somebody who went to school. It is self-regulated. very similar to, I believe, yoga places. I think they're like anybody can open a yoga place.
Right.
You know, it's self-regulated. You really want to look at people's credentials. Make sure they went to a school, not just some online or just read a book. Nothing is online. I have certificates from things online that help support what I already learned, but it is imperative.
You got a strong foundation.
Exactly. And you get to actually practice it. And I had one of the worst partners there to do the hypnosis with, and he was terrible, but it taught me that, wow, it even works with this terrible hypnosis guy who's teaching, who's another student. He was awful, but it worked. It worked. So
wow.
It taught me that as long as you keep going, and I'm grateful. I was like the only chick in the class too. There are some people that I don't think always have a, how do I word this? I don't think everybody going into it wants to help others. I think some people go into it for ego boost. We were not really trained on stage hypnosis, but there are people who really just want to do that and be like, look at me.
Yeah, right, okay.
We were taught how to pick people if you want to do stage hypnosis, like who to choose in the audience and how to do body reading. That's another certificate I have is body language. But
it's what?
Body language.
So they could pick who they want.
Yeah, so you can kind of tell who's the
I got
people
picked
pleaser.
And it didn't work.
I would never pick you. Just
My sister always said nobody could hypnotize her, and somebody tried at one time when she said there was just no way I was going to let them hypnotize me.
Well, that's a very strong conviction some people have. What I tell clients is all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I'm just your guide. And whether you're wide awake or sound asleep or in between, it's still working on your subconscious. You just might not realize it right away. Things like quitting smoking, that one is instantaneous. You can, boom, you know when you quit smoking.
Yeah.
Anxiety, weight loss, that's a little bit more, you got to fine tune that. So oftentimes there'll be more than 1 or 2 sessions with that to see what's working.
So then you opened up an office, say in some place like
Silver.
along this path.
In
of
Silver
yours?
Lake, I worked under Dr. Brandy Engler and Silver Lake Psychology off of Sunset, yeah,
In LA.
In Silver Lake. I have to say Silver Lake because I'm a snob about LA. Sorry. I'm like, no, Silver Lake, Los Feliz.
What am I supposed to say?
It's part of Los Angeles, but
Yeah.
it's just a different part. It would be like if somebody lived in
What was
Brentwood.
it called?
Silver Lake.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the hipsters.
I know. So
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I didn't know it was like that though. And so now you are full time here in the desert, and you offer these services, and from what I'm gathering, she really does want to help. She wants to help you. And so, those of you who are saying, yeah, I guess I should quit smoking, or I should lose some weight. No, we're going to let you. How people get you through your phone, your address?
My website is Primitive Balance.
Okay, and I want to ask about that. Her website is called Primitive Balance.
Thank you.
It's a
And
great
you
name.
have to put a capital P on primitive and a capital B on balance, because otherwise it didn't go through for me the other
Oh,
day.
it
So
didn't.
primitivebalance.com, and it's Laura Rowell.
Thank you.
And so go to her website, and then you'll be informed. And instead of looking at it like, ooh, I don't know, no, go find out, because this woman, just in the little bit that we've been here, has touched me. And it's like, I know that she is a caring person. And so if you need that help, get it. Just go for it.
Well, you have to be, especially like I had a woman a few years ago who was in her late 70s, and she, for the first time, if I can say this, it was for sex coaching, bought an assistant device, and needed help with that, and needed help because she was tired of trying to date, and she was very sexually active at her age. And so it's not just the hypnosis, but it's also for the sex coaching, especially out here. You have to be understanding of other people's needs. I don't know what it's like to be 80 years old and not be able to find a partner in bed and have all these issues, but I at least can give her the understanding and the compassion and the safe space and hold that to hear her. And I think that anybody who works in this profession needs to be able to do that. I recently had somebody I was talking with who is new in the profession, and I don't know how they're going to last. They just had zero compassion, and I was shocked by it.
Ooh,
it was
no.
just like, wow.
You know, but that's what
shocking.
happens when you sometimes pick a doctor who,
Yeah.
who just
You could be a therapist's therapist. Get them over that hump. So they're-
No, I don't know if I want that much drama in my life. But what were you saying about the doctor?
you know, some doctors just like can be so nurturing, you know, and therefore being very helpful to you. But then you'll go to a doctor who has all the information, but it doesn't go over the footlights, so to speak, because they're just not kind. They're not. They don't
Compassionate.
have the compassionate. Yes, exactly.
And there is something in Buddhism they call compassion fatigue. And I definitely can at times get that. And unfortunately, what that means is when I'm with my friends or family, I just have zero compassion sometimes because I save it for my clients. But through grounding and stuff, it helps. But there's a certain point where I do believe you have to be like, oh God, I'm done with it. But to be able to just naturally at least make that attempt to have compassion for others, I actually think in society it would help so much, you know, to try to walk in somebody else's shoes.
Well, I always tell my
Empathy.
students, empathy. You're always talking about that, and I with my teaching, you know, I always say that before, you know, not every class, but periodically, we're the ones in here, everybody, and it's a fitness class, you know, but to do with your body what you're talking about with the mind and all of that, and the mind's now telling the body what to do, and we're the ones that have to go out in the world and try to spread some kind of empathy, compassion, love, kindness, because there's just so much rattling going
That's
on.
a perfect word for it. And you know, you can actually do hypnosis for that too. Not with the rattling, but for like compassion, because you're changing those neural pathways. You're changing that. I always say, look at it as your brain, your neurons, what they have this path, and think of it like a jungle. And what we're doing is we're taking a hatchet to another path. So eventually that path over here is going to grow over, and you're going to be going down this path. And that would be great. You can do that with compassion too. You can
Wow.
do that.
See what I learned today?
Well, it was my biggest attraction to her, because I didn't know she was a singer when I first met her. I just thought, oh, she knows everybody. She likes everybody. She talks to the waiter, the maitre d', everybody. And then they call her name to sing. I'm like, and she's a singer too?
You're like, surprise!
Yeah.
Were you on a date and you didn't tell him you were a singer and you got called
We
up?
didn't know we had just met.
Oh, I thought you were actually on a date.
We
No.
met because we both went through the door at the same time at the cabaret, and we were both meeting the same
Cabaret.
people.
Straight man at cabaret, that's a keeper.
I was opening up my expansion there.
Good
Yeah.
for you. Good for you, Reno. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Reno,
Let me see
real
who's on
estate.
there real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then I want you to just say that you're moving forward with your new.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We have Kim Tracy's on.
Kim
Yeah.
Tracy.
Yeah.
Hi, Kim. I hope you're.
Tap dancing.
Yeah. This is a friend of mine who did we did a show for her parents last Saturday. They 90th birthday dad and 70th wedding anniversary for the and
Oh.
Kim,
We
I
have
hypnotized her to get her tap shoes out.
Hi, Marcia.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet. You guys have a nice following.
Floyd and Linda Stanley.
Oh, I know that name. It's my mother.
Is it? Where? From where?
North Carolina, Grifton, North
We're
Carolina.
North Carolina. My whole family's in North Carolina.
We have so much in common. Whereabouts in North Carolina?
Well, they're all over. They're from Raleigh, Durham. They're in Pinehurst. They're in Wake Forest. They're in. I'm not sure anybody's in Wilmington anymore, but it's like they're. My brother was the head football coach at Duke, and he went back there after he finished coaching to live, and his family's there, and in fact, and then everybody's moved there but me.
Okay, Helen Steele Parator. Helen Steele Parator.
Do you know who?
Helen Steele Parator.
Somehow
I have to tell you guys, this is very similar to webcamming because, I mean, you have all these people going through and watching live and
we do- and
commenting.
we
Tony
should do-
Ringland. Tony's watching.
Hi, Tony. Hi. Welcome back from Hawaii. Yes.
Melanie Blue's watching.
Melanie Blue is watching. How come Melanie Blue? She has her improv tonight. What time is it?
I don't know.
Maybe it hasn't happened yet. Melanie, I just hear such wonderful things about the improv classes and the things you're doing out at CV Rep in, that's in Cathedral City, right? Yes.
Yeah, and Pam Drake.
And I'm so jealous that I can't come take your improv classes, but I know they're wonderful. And thank you for always tuning in. And Pam Drake, I started to say a little bit ago, one of the guests that we had on this show was a friend of mine from dancing days back in, where was I? The San Francisco area. And Pam went off to do the Broadway show Chorus Line.
Oh.
Yes, she was right. And she now has a fabulous studio in Oakland. And she has a group of people called the Dancing Christmas Trees.
Oh, yeah.
And so they come down and do the Palm Springs Christmas Festival or parade.
Brave.
That's nice.
And Pam, I was just going to talk about you a little bit ago. So, yes, tap dancing is in our background.
That's wonderful.
In fact, it's more in our background because I got new tap shoes. The first new pair of tap shoes in over 30 years.
Good for you. Good for you.
We probably should start wrapping it up.
Yes,
but-
that's why. Do you have any more to say? Your real estate, you've been really busy this week with your real estate and traveling around.
Well, it's kind of going back to what you
Oh,
said
yeah.
about the compassion that we all have, and this group I'm with, EXP, under Andrew Warburton team. It's like every single person, the agents, the management. It's so easy to talk to each individual, and they're all reaching out. If you have a question, someone's always wanting to help, and it's like, thank God, because the technology. Woo!
Yeah.
I'm learning so much, and there's days I'm more mental tired than physical tired, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, he's excited. he's excited.
Yeah.
You know, he's such a smart man, and he needs to be challenged. And this is
That's why he's with you.
Yeah. Life is
He
a cabaret.
wanted to say that. I know he probably did.
Took
Well,
it.
Laura.
Laura.
That's okay.
Yes.
Remember we sang the song, Laura in the Misty Light?
Anyway, it's been just wonderful having you, and I do hope that, you know, some people will connect with you because she's fabulous and she's got so much to offer. And is there anything you would like to say to the world out here? I mean, believe it.
There's a
we
lot
have
I want to
people
say.
from Germany. We have friends from Germany.
Oh, that's
Sweden,
wonderful,
Sweden,
yeah.
you know, all-
I have clients actually in Germany, Australia, and England, and it's wonderful. You can go international. It's great. No, I just want to say thank you. And if you have any questions for anybody out there, don't hesitate to just contact me. And there's free consultation, 20-minute phone consultation, 323-422-5221.
Is that your phone number? Give it again. With your hand
I
away from
know that's such a bad habit. When I worked at the radio station, that was another bad habit. I always do that. It's I don't know what that's from. 323
323
422
422
5221.
5221. And it's
Primitive
balance.
Thank
I
you.
love that.
That's very and
.com.
Thank you guys for all you do and for inviting me. And it was
fun.
very serendipitous. I'm glad I saved your life. You know,
Yeah.
against the non-intruder. So, yeah.
And as I always love to leave you with, may all that has been reduced to noise in you become music again.
Oh, that's
Isn't
beautiful.
that, well, I know, I
So mote it
it
be.
was
I
in
love
somebody
that.
else's, not mine, but I love it and I use it, and that friendship and music and therapists have no distance.
Wonderful. Thank you guys
Bye,
so much.
everybody.
Bye, everybody. You know I love you. Thank you for tuning in.